25 drivers, 16 nationalities, 3 champions, 1 champ. Road to Indy TV.
On behalf of everyone at Cooper Tires, drivers, start your engines.
And with that, the engines fire up down here on pit lane. Thank you to the Cooper Tire Girls, John Phippen. It's time to go racing with Indy Lights.
Thank you, Rob Howden. Sorry for the delay as we had a little track repair work going on up at turn number 9, but that has been concluded, and we are clean and green for 2 pace laps as these drivers will take one full lap around the track here and then come around the second time to see the green flag.
Yep, drivers rolling off of pit lane right now. It's Askew McGinnis on the front row. Then it is Toby Sowery starting in the 3rd spot. Ryan Norman starts 4th. Dalton Kellett is 5th. Renus VK is 6th. Aaron Tealitz is 7th. David Malukas starts 8th, and Lucas Cole starts 9th. Well, we've got a duo of talented pit reporters down on pit lane. We're going to welcome in Alex Wolf first from Lima, Ohio. Alex, something you're watching, a storyline today as this championship continues to take shape here at Indy Lights.
Well, the storyline for much of the road to Indy for the 2 drivers with Oliver Askew and with Renus VK, and I had an eye on Renus VK as he was getting strapped into that Soul Red Jumbo number 21 for Juncos Racing, a definite look of intensity as he climbed into the cockpit. And during the hold for that cleanup from the Stadium Super Trucks, actually one of his crew members brought over the cool vest that he was wearing, sat it on his hands to make sure that everything's nice and loose and cooled off for what should be a hot, tense day as he tries to come from the 6th position in the 27 previous Indy Lights races here at Mid-Ohio. No driver has ever come from the 6th position to win, while the pole sitter has won on 17 occasions. So in that case, the advantage goes to Oliver Askew before the race gets underway. Now let's head a little bit further up the pit lane to Rob Howden.
Yeah, no doubt about it, Alex. This is a track where everybody knows track position is key. Qualifying is obviously unbelievably important. But before we go, let's just fill you people in. It is Chamber of Commerce weather here right now at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. Let's call it an even 80-degree ambient temperature and an even 100-degree track temperature here. A little bit different than it was for the morning qualifying session today, but that's what we'll kind of point on a little bit. We talked about the fact that Oliver Askew only used 1 set of those Cooper tires, the fresh Coopers, for qualifying. He saved 1 set of stickers. He's going to hedge his bet, guys. He's not putting those on right now. We're going to see those fresh tires for tomorrow's race number 2. Oliver Askew, knowing that the primary challenger in the championship, Renus VK, Nick Yeoman, is back in 6th spot. Let's save those tires when he's a lot closer to the front.
Like that strategy, Kyle, knowing that, hey, I don't need the tires as much today with my challenger in 6th as much as tomorrow with VK on the outside of the front row.
Exactly. That plays really well into the strategy behind the racing in Indy Lights, and not often do you really get tire strategy options.
Exactly.
So it's cool to see that knows that he has a fast car this weekend, obviously feeling really comfortable in the car, and being able to just use 1 set of tires this morning will probably pay off for tomorrow.
Lights are off on the pace car. In fact, the pace car is pulling way ahead of the field. Michael Young, they're popping into your view as we are 1 lap away from going racing here at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course.
As you said, the pace car started to pull away. So did Oliver Askew from the rest of the field. The pace car has woed ever so slightly, allowing Oliver Askew and the remainder of the field to catch up to it. Oliver Askew now through turn number 2, followed by Robert McGinnis, Toby Sowery, Ryan Norman making up that row number 2, Dalton Kellett, Renus VK, row number 3, and Aaron Tealitz. What a story that would be if he could climb his way forward alongside David Malukas, row 4, and rounding out the field, that's Lucas Cole, and just now passing the start-finish line for the beginning of the IndyCar races. The pace car now going into the view of Dave first. Dave, the field looking pretty coming down that back straightaway.
It's almost as if they're really gapping themselves, trying to light those tires up, get a little more temperature on those Cooper tires. Right now, the pole sitter and Oliver Askew weaving back and forth, trying to get a little more temp in those tires. The same for Robert McGinnis right behind him, that bright yellow machine of Toby Sowery. Pretty evenly spaced, but trying to A, clean off those tires, and B, get a little more temperature in them. That is the order of the day before we get started here. Race number 1, Indy Lights style here at Mid-Ohio.
Yep, the good news for those drivers is there's been a lot of Cooper tire that's been laid down on this racetrack because the entire road to Indy is here this weekend. But as we talked about after that Stadium Truck Series race that was just on track moments ago, an extended cleanup. So certainly the AMR IndyCar safety crew and IndyCar officials like what they see, but the drivers getting to see it firsthand right now as we are just about set to go racing. The 9 drivers making their way out of Thunder Valley, setting up for the carousel. They'll start to line up 2 by 2. The Andretti Autosport teammates of Askew and McGinnis side by side. McGinnis actually has the inside through the carousel, but of course they'll swing back to the left and onto the front straightaway to go racing. In fact, already accelerating right now out of the final corner. They'll swing wide, they'll see the green flag, and we are racing in Indy lights. It's a good jump for McGinnis and Askew. McGinnis might nose ahead of his teammate. Askew, though, has the advantage, the inside line. He'll take the lead out of turn 1.
If there's ever been a problem with Oliver Askew, it's sometimes the starts. He is able to hold off his teammate Robert McGinnis as Robert McGinnis pops to the inside. Further back, Ryan Norman and Toby Sowery go 2 wide through the exit of turn number 2. Rinus VK's already gotten around Dalton Kellett. Field nearly single file as now Ryan Norman starts to look to the inside and Toby Sowery again in 3.
They call it about a 2-car length advantage for Oliver Askew, but that gap's going to close down. Robert McGinnis all over him. Sowery is 3rd, then followed by Ryan Norman. Norman not able to make up any ground here in the opening salvo. Meanwhile, it's Oliver Askew continues to lead. Sowery in with about a half-car length for that battle for second. That battle for second heating up here at Mid-Ohio.
And right at the bottom of the hill, Aaron Teal has spun. That's about the 4th or 5th time that Bellardi Auto Racing driver has spun this weekend. It looked like it was a harmless spin just out of turns 5 and 6. Teal's got that car right in the right direction, pointed the right direction, and he'll continue on. But all track position and the leaders are gone. And Kyle, we're going to see a replay here of what happened to Aaron Teal's exiting turns 5 and 6.
Yeah, and that is not hard to do at this track, especially on the opening lap with colder tires. You just get to the gas a little too early, and you see right as he's cresting that hill, just lost the rear.
It is Oliver Askew, your leader in lap number 1. McGinnis is 2nd, Sowery 3rd out of turn 1.
Looks like about an 8-car length advantage, nearly as second as Oliver Askew starts to check out over his teammate Robert McGinnis. McGinnis late on the braking, starts to close on the leader Oliver Askew, his teammate Toby Sowery now holding off Ryan Norman. That gap from 3rd to 4th down to about 2 car lengths. Dave, that battle for 3rd probably the best on the circuit.
Yeah, Robert McGinnis, the challenger, and now trying to be challenged, although here comes Toby Sowery to the outside. He's taking an outside look, but then snaps back in the line. Ryan Norman then makes up the advantage. So an Andretti car moving up here at Mid-Ohio. It's Askew, McGinnis, Ryan Norman, Andretti Autosport running 1, 2, 3.
Taking your time, setting up passes, so important here at Mid-Ohio. You like what you just saw there from Ryan Norman?
Yeah, that was a textbook pass. Obviously, his home track, so he's very familiar. And having the push-to-pass available, you could tell he got a really good run. And looks like Sowery went around at the top of turn 9.
Boy, Sowery did. He looped it right in front of about 4 cars, did a 360, gathers it back in. He'll lose the 4th position and tumble all the way to 8th. But very fortunate that our guy that was 2nd in points, Rinus VK, didn't clobber him there right at the top of the hill. Boy, what a spin for Sowery as he'll have to regather it back in the 8th position. And now Dalton Kellett is off track. Kellett gets sideways, exiting the final corner. Sowery will get around him, and now Kellett will fall to the 8th position. Michael, it's awful wild here on lap number 3.
And that's allowed the Andretti trio to check out. Oliver Askew about 5 car lengths over teammate Ryan Norman, who has an 8-car length gap between he and Robert McGinnis. Ryan Norman running in that 3rd position, but this will give Rinus VK an opportunity to close ground, but he's got a ways to go, Dave First.
I was going to say, and not so bad if you're Rinus VK. That clears up a little ground for the young man, the Flying Dutchman, if you will, trying to make up some points and some ground here this afternoon. Meanwhile, still, it's Askew, McGinnis, Norman, pretty evenly spaced at the exit of turn number 5, up over the hill. Rinus VK running 4th.
Andretti Autosport 1, 2, 3 here on lap number 3 at Mid-Ohio. Let's go to pit lane and Rob Howden.
Yeah, Nick, just a quick update. I ran over and talked to Ricardo Juncos. My question was, is there some kind of a grip issue? We just had the Stadium Super Trucks out there. They were hardcore in the race line of all the corners we're talking about here. There's a potential that the grip is kind of lower than it used to be, and I'm sure Kyle Kaiser can talk about this, but issues with grip because they've been kind of pulling that rubber away. And we've seen a couple of guys spin in places we don't normally see them spin on an opening lap.
Yeah, I can definitely attest that this track in general is always challenging when the track heats up. This older asphalt has always just been really challenging to get the tire temps up, and it seems to take at least 5 laps before you start feeling comfortable.
Yeah, Rob makes a great point because the trouble spots here usually seem to be, we see drivers get off wide in turn 1. Sometimes the keyhole, it's hard to get woed down. and then into the S's. But where Teal spun, where Sowery spun, and then ultimately where Dalton Kellett got off, those are usual spots where it's usually nip and tuck.
Yeah, I would say that it just seems like the rear of the cars are a little bit freer than they've normally been. Cresting these hills when the cars get light, if you don't have the downforce and you don't have the track grip, it's really not too hard if you're too aggressive to power to get it loose there.
Dave, first you just saw Toby Sowery start his charge back to the front.
It's hard to miss that bright yellow machine here driven by Toby Sowery, who's done such a nice job throughout the course of the season. Picked up yet a spot, got around that Brazilian, Lucas Cole.
So it's Askew, McGinnis, Norm in the top 3, then VK, then Malukas. Now Sowery moves into the 7th position, kicks Dalton Kellett kicks Lucas Cole back to the 7th spot. Teal runs in the 9th spot. Dalton Kellett, another one of those drivers that got off track, is in 8th. Let's go back to pit lane and Rob Howard.
Yeah, just to clarify a little bit the comments that I got from Ricardo Juncos, the Stadium Super Trucks guys, Robbie Gordon's crew, they were out here in that last session beforehand here. We did have that break before we went going because they were cleaning up the racetrack. These cars are very aggressive, especially coming through that 4-5-6 combination, coming into Thunder Valley. Their cars are so sideways and a lot of grip out of the tires that they use. Of course, talking to Ricardo, he's worried that potentially some of that rubber, some of the grip that they were expecting was kind of ripped up and pulled up by the Stadium Super Truck cars. We're always dealing with different rubber on this racetrack. It doesn't matter what support series is here, but apparently and potentially the Stadium Super Trucks have kind of just affected this racetrack and caught out the drivers a little bit here in the opening couple of laps.
Dave, here comes Aaron Tealitz trying to get back around Dalton Kellett.
Meanwhile, as that's going on, Aaron Tealitz almost plowed into the back of that number 67 machine driven by Dalton Kellett. Tealitz, remember, he spun on the opening lap as well, perhaps driving a little red mist inside of that red machine. He's trying to make up a little ground.
Yeah, Kyle, never fun to have early issues in a race. Both of those drivers got to be awful frustrated with the beginning of this deal.
Yeah, very frustrating, and it's kind of bizarre to see so many spins and no yellow flags either. So obviously they're spread out and they're trying to make up ground as much as they can at this point.
How about the leaders, Michael Young? Oliver Askew continues a 1.4 second advantage over Robert McGinnis.
Nearly checked out enough that McGinnis can't use that overtake. McGinnis back in wants to step out ever so slightly as he enters the beginning of that keyhole turn number 2. Wiggles on the exit as well. But Oliver Askew now with a 2.5 advantage. Call it 15 car lengths through turn number 3.
This just in, this 22-year-old kid from Jupiter, Florida is pretty good. He's extended that lead now to about 4 car lengths over his teammate Robert McGinnis. Another 4 or 5 back to Ryan Norman. It looks to me like let's see here. That is VK's making up a little ground, I think. Remember, he's second in points. Looks like he's trying to catch up to those top 3.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And in the back of the field, we're seeing a lot of side-by-side racing as Aaron Tealitz and Dalton Kellett go side-by-side through the S's, and Tealitz will pick up a pass. It also looked like that the 2 BN Racing teammates, Sowery and Malukas, with a nice little battle down into the S's. And we're kind of getting a look at the onboard shot of David Malukas. All of a sudden, there is Toby Sowery to his inside, Kyle.
Yeah, he is charging hard. He's been quick all weekend, so it's nice to see him charging through the field. If there's a late yellow in this race, I wouldn't be surprised to see him make some moves.
Yeah, such a tough spot for Toby Sowery, who started 3rd, spun in the early portions of this race, and now is just trying to pick up the pieces. He's got a long way to go to catch Rinus VK, who's in the 4th position. But the surprising thing is that VK really hasn't been able to keep pace with Robert McGinnis and Oliver Askew and Ryan Norman. The top 3 of those Andretti Autosport drivers have kind of checked out. Are you surprised by that? Because we knew VK's got a good race car and needed to keep pace with Oliver Askew.
I wouldn't say it's too surprising. Those Andretti cars have been really fast this weekend. They're all doing about the same times right now, kind of in their own field, it seems like. But I think this track tends to change quite a bit. It's crazy to see the times they're doing now are almost 3 seconds slower, well, 2 seconds slower than they were doing in qualifying. So these temperatures are obviously making the track a lot slower, a lot more challenging to drive. So I could see this slowing down quite a bit towards the ending phases of this race, and seeing guys being able to pull back together.
How tough was it to get heat in those Cooper tires at the beginning of the race? Was that ever an issue? When did you feel like you had a good control of the race car?
This track has always been, for me, the hardest track to get those tires up to temp and feel like you have grip. When it gets hot here, it feels oily. It feels like you're almost driving in the rain to a certain degree. And I found that on the restarts, and especially at the start of the race, is the best time to make up positions, because some guys don't have the opportunity to get the tires up to the temperature they need to be.
Yep, no doubt. Certainly the Cooper tires, it's a great sponsorship with the Indy Lights Series. All these drivers running on Cooper tires. The Pro Mazda or the Indy Pro 2000 and the USF 2000 drivers all run on the Cooper tires as well, and these drivers are really able to run hard on the various different type of racetracks too, which is what makes Indy Lights so unique. They're going to run on these tires, Cooper tires at Gateway. They take them to the street courses at St. Pete to kick off the year. And boy, they can do a lot of exciting things with the race cars. And certainly the racing this season has been pretty good, as we've had 6 different winners. Oliver Askew, our current leader, has 4 of those race victories. Rinus VK, the young man trying to run him down for the championship, he's got 3. Given chase in that title hunt, he was 25 points back entering this race. As they run right now, he would be 38 points back. So Askew continues to build on that lead as we are working lap number 7 of 30 here at Mid-Ohio. The rundown again, it's Askew, McGinnis, Norman the top 3, then VK and Sowery rounding out the top 5. David Malukas runs 6th, Lucas Cole is 7th, Aaron Tealitz is 8th, and Dalton Kellett is 9th. Let's go back to pit lane with Rob Howden.
Yeah, standing by with another driver with a lot of momentum. We're watching a pretty good run here by Oliver Askew right now. He's pulling away and could have a good point gap by the time we're done here. But let's get the guy who's kind of doing the same thing here in the Indy Pro 2000 category, Kyle Kirkwood. 4 straight pole positions. You've won 3 of the last 4 races. The last 2 events so much different than the start of the season for you, where you had some bad luck. It's momentum and confidence. That's kind of the order of the day for you right now.
Yeah, we talked about that earlier. I think we've got a really good baseline for the car now. We've worked really hard to get the car where it's at, and like you said, momentum. And that's what we had last year. Even here last year when I was with Cape Motorsports, we probably shouldn't have won a couple of the races, and we did. We swept the weekend. So, and that's really what it is, just confidence and momentum.
You know, the road to Indy is about having experience of these events, these tracks like Mid-Ohio. Some drivers have never been here before. You, of course, ran last year, as you mentioned, in USF 2000. Are you going to be able to glean something from what you used last year for the races coming up today and tomorrow?
You know, I already have, and a lot of it is this track gets quicker as the weekend goes on. You got to understand where that grip is, especially when IndyCar goes out there and lays down their red Firestone rubber, and our Cooper tires really like that Firestone rubber. So we got to get acclimated to that instantly when we go on track. And like I said, the track's always changing, and like it is at most tracks, but this track I think is even more so. And having years of experience here really helps that.
Speaking of Kyle Kirkwood, the driver who's on the pole position for both races here this weekend in the Indy Pro 2000 class, the second level of the road to Indy. Let's talk about the way things have changed in your mindset, though. Of course, maybe some frustration early on with some of the issues that you had early. Then, of course, you have a couple of great runs here. You're able to win in Toronto. You swept at Road America going to Toronto. How much different is the mindset? How much different is the way you're changing your approach to race weekends, knowing that that championship is still, within your grasp?
You know, it changes it a lot, because now I know we have momentum, and I know now that we can do it, because we were losing points all the way up until Road America. We were 45 points behind, and we took a big whack out of it at Road America, where we dropped down to, I think, 30 points. And then Toronto should have been better than it was, but we had a little mishap in race 1, but we still won race 2 and lost 2 points in the weekend, which is stellar for hitting the wall. And now...
Hold on 1 second. We've got a crash on the racetrack. Let's go back to Nick.
Yep, right around turn 13, Toby Sowery got a little sideways and nosed it hard into the tire barriers. It ripped the front wing off of that race car. That was a pretty good lick, and this is going to put us under a full course yellow here at Mid-Ohio. Kyle, we've been watching Sowery, been hanging out the left and right rear, really fast part of the racetrack. Nice to see him jump out of that race car.
Yeah, it looks like they're just showing the replay now. So, okay, it looks like he got a little loose coming out of turn 11 there and just happened to drop wheels going into the corner. And once you do that, it's really hard to get the car slowed down. So, shame to see that happen, because his car was one of the quickest on track.
It really was. And again, he was exiting Thunder Valley, and yeah, just got the right sides off the racetrack, and it was a wild hit. He really bounced around in that cockpit. Good to see him out of the race car, and certainly nice to see the AMR IndyCar safety team there right away to begin the cleanup and take Toby Sowery back to the paddock. Rob Howden, really appreciate Kyle Kirkwood hanging in there. That was a big hit there for Toby Sowery, one of the fastest cars on the racetrack.
Well, listen, Nick, Kyle Kirkwood's a veteran of the IndyCar radio network. He's been an analyst, so he knows how we have to bob and weave sometimes, and we do appreciate cutting away for that incident with Toby Sowery. Let's just cap off our interview. Obviously, now going into this race, do you have to finish first and second right now? Is that the focus?
Yeah. winning races wins championships, and we can't control what Rasmus is doing out there. But all we can do is just try and win races.
Hey, good luck today.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Guys, again, RP Motorsports and Kyle Kirkwood, the drivers with the momentum, with the confidence right now moving forward. He'll be on pole for both races, Nick Yeoman, here this weekend. 4 poles in a row. He's won 3 of the last 4 races. This is the guy with a ton of momentum heading to the tail end of the season.
Yep, no doubt about it. Rasmus Lind, the favorite to win that championship right now as the points leader, but as hot as Kyle Kirkwood's been lately, that's going to be a fun championship to watch all the way down to the final races at Laguna Seca. Again, working a full course yellow here on lap number 10 at Mid-Ohio. A 1-car incident involving Toby Sowery. Sowery does not, Alex Wolf, appear to be the only car out of the race, because you've got one sitting in front of you with the engine off on pit lane.
Yeah, right now the Belardi Auto Racing number 4, the cherry red machine of Aaron Teal, it's in the pits, came in, shut the engine off. One of the crew members said that with the handling troubles that they've been having throughout much of this weekend, going to treat the rest of this race as a test session. So it looks like Aaron Teelitz will eventually get back into the races. Right now they're working hard on the front dampers, making some spring changes and adjusting the front end of that car. So Teelitz out of contention for a win or a good finish today, but hopefully going to get back out and try to get some more notes for tomorrow afternoon's race.
Kyle Kaiser, I'm going to venture that's probably a good call. 1, Teelitz isn't running for the championship. He's a part-time driver. 2, he's had quite a few offs already this weekend. And then 3, you see the trip Toby Sowery just took into the tire barriers. If you're Brian Belardi, I imagine that's a good call to make sure you get the handling good for that race car tomorrow.
I 100% agree. I think at this point, like you said, he's not in it for the championship at this point, and to have an opportunity to go out there and make some changes to the car, try and move the ball forward for his teammate as well, because he's still in this race. So I think it's just good to collect data, get a chance to see what they might be missing this weekend.
Cleanup continuing just at the entrance of the carousel here at Mid-Ohio. Toby Sowery is okay, but out of the race here at Mid-Ohio. Full field rundown. It's Oliver Askew, the P1. Robert McGinnis is second. Ryan Norman is third. Renus VK fourth. David Malukas fifth. Lucas Cole is sixth. Dalton Kellett is seventh. Sowery is out of the race in eighth, and Aaron Teelitz's car sits on pit lane as they try to dial in the handling for him. He is in the 9th position. Let's go back to pit lane and Rob Howden.
Yeah, guys, just a quick update to add to what Alex brought to the table there. Interesting in talking to Brian Belardi, he said to me that this session, the entire session, was actually initially to be a test session. The whole concept was to try something different on the race car, to try to be better for tomorrow. Aaron back on track and leading as the field working its way out of the final couple corners, so Teelitz back out. But he did admit that this entire session, the focus was try something a little bit different. Not just now, as we said, but actually the entire session to try to get things better for Lucas Cole and Aaron tomorrow.
Yep, as Rob mentioned, you can hear Teelitz kind of peel off of pit lane. He stayed in front of the pace car. The bad news, though, is he is a good 3 laps down. So the potential to win, which Teelitz has done already this season at Toronto, is gone for today. But certainly Belardi kind of fighting that uphill battle to see if they can get those cars dialed in. Michael Young, the good news is quite honestly, we never like to see anyone crash, but we kind of needed that caution. It's going to bunch everybody back up as we got the 1 to go up there in the keyhole.
Yeah, Oliver Askew already through the keyhole as McGinnis and now Ryan Norman complete the exit of that turn. It was interesting, and as we were talking to Kyle Kirkwood, I was noticing Renus VK had started to close that gap between he and Ryan Norman, so did Toby Sowery once he got around David Malukas. So both of those cars, in my opinion, were the quickest on the circuit as they were slowly closing the gaps. Going to keep our eyes on that Renus VK machine as this restart gets set to get unfolded here in a couple of more turns.
And Dave, first, you can see that field, a lot of swerving back and forth, trying to clean off those Cooper tires as we're about set to go racing.
Yeah, and that includes Oliver Askew. Now he hits the throttle, as does his Andretti Autosport teammates, and Robert McGinnis and Ryan Norman. Everyone pretty spaced pretty evenly. Man, I hate to see Toby Sowery. He, too, Michael, had one of the best cars out there, really pushing it. Got a little squirrely a couple times in turn number 4. We'll see him back, though, tomorrow afternoon here at Mid-Ohio.
Going to be interesting for some of these drivers of what they can do with the push to pass. Robert McGinnis still has 7 push to pass opportunities. Norman's still got 8. VK hasn't used the button much. He's only hit it once, so he's got 14 opportunities. And of course, our leader Oliver Askew cannot use the push to pass. He can only use it to attack, not to defend. So he's got a full allotment of extra horsepower here at Mid-Ohio. Pace car speeds ahead of the 7 remaining cars on the racetrack. 8 once Aaron Teelitz catches the tail end of the pack. It is Oliver Askew, Robert McGinnis, Ryan Norman, Andretti Autosport 1, 2, 3. And like a rocket, Oliver Askew gets a great jump out of the carousel. He'll see the green flag. We are racing once again. He'll gap Robert McGinnis by about 3 car lengths through turn number 1.
Fantastic restart for Oliver Askew at the exit of turn number 1. Has a 3 car length advantage over Robert McGinnis, but on the charge as Ryan Norman takes a look to the inside of his teammate Robert McGinnis. No go there. Rinus VeeKay all over the rear wing of Ryan Norman. Oliver Askew now gapping himself 5 car lengths over teammate Robert McGinnis. Ryan Norman starting to look at that second position now as they make their way through turn number 3, Dave First.
And why shouldn't he? That gap about a half a car length now. Askew, meanwhile, 5 car lengths better than McGinnis. Let's see what Norman does. Closes in right up against that rear wing, about a car length advantage for McGinnis. Evenly spaced and no changes up over the hill at the crest, then back downhill. That right-hander through turn number 6 under the Honda Bridge. Askew, McGinnis, Norman, the top 3.
Yeah, Norman took a peek there at the entrance of the S's, but just wasn't close enough alongside. But how about the start for Oliver Askew? That's exactly what you need, Kyle. We don't see a lot of mid-race restarts in Indy Lights. In fact, we've had a lot of races that have gone green to checkered, but boy, he nailed it there out of the carousel.
He did exactly what he needed to do. And what I noticed, there's a big bump right in the middle of turn 12. And what he did is right after he cleared that bump, he nailed it, just had the perfect launch. And when you see the guy in front of you hit that accelerator, you try and get on it. But if you do it before that bump, it'll get you all over the place. So really smart restart on his part.
Just 1 lap after going green, Michael Young. It's a 1.1 second advantage for Oliver Askew.
Yeah, Oliver is that good. Nick Yeoman already entering the keyhole. Robert McGinnis back in, stepping out ever so slightly. Then Ryan Norman. Everybody even pace except Rinus VeeKay, now starting to get the mirrors full of David Malukas. So Rinus VeeKay second in the points, running in that 4th position. Looks like Malukas has closed that gap down to 3 car lengths.
Askew, a big gap now over Robert McGinnis. Same for Ryan Norman, who runs in 3rd. Rinus VeeKay calling about 4 car lengths, but you're right, Michael Young. Here comes David Malukas. Tucks those left side tires over the red and white curbing along the left side. Now the right side through turn 6 has about let's call it 3 car lengths behind Rinus VeeKay.
Yeah, David Malukas running in 5th has been all over that push to pass button. He's only got 3 opportunities to use it here the rest of the race. It's a young man who knows he's trying to run down a championship contender in Rinus VeeKay. And I imagine Kyle thought, boy, on this restart, I've got to get everything I can. This may be my only shot.
For sure, the restarts are the best opportunity to make up spots because different cars just handle differently depending on how well you brought the tires up. And like I was saying earlier, if you don't bring those tires up perfectly on those warm-up laps, you could be really hurting for the first few flying laps.
1.3 seconds is the advantage. Askew over McGinnis, and then it's still about a half a second back to Ryan Norman in 3rd.
Past that halfway mark, and Oliver Askew has been in command since the drop of the green flag. About a 10 car length advantage, calling about nearly a second and a half now. Oliver Askew over teammate Robert McGinnis. Ryan Norman now gapping himself over Rinus VeeKay. Norman starting to close in on the rear wing of Robert McGinnis.
Askew with a huge advantage. This kid's led so many laps this season. He's used to being up front. Big space back to McGinnis, then Norman. Rinus VeeKay not able to make up any ground. Meanwhile, further back, Dalton Kellett makes up a spot. He gets around Lucas Cole. So move up that Uncos machine over the Bellardi here at Mid-Ohio.
Well, I'll tell you what, Lucas Cole wasn't going away down towards the bottom of the hill as he nearly got back side by side with Dalton Kellett, but Kellett had the preferred inside lane, and he'll pull away from Lucas Cole, gapping him by about 2 or 3 car lengths through Thunder Valley. So move Lucas Cole back to the 7th spot, Dalton Kellett up to 6th, and a nice pass down into turn number 4. Oliver Askew back out of the front straightaway. That advantage continues to grow. It was 1.3 seconds. It's now up to 1.6 seconds. And the big thing there, Michael, is Robert McGinnis can no longer use that push to pass. He's got to get within 1.5.
Boy, and I don't know what he was doing because he knew that Oliver Askew was starting to get away. And Oliver Askew has such a great exit in turn number 1. Ryan Norman probably start hitting that button here very soon as he's trying to close back in on that rear wing of Robert McGinnis. But as Oliver Askew already exits turn number 3, McGinnis, Ryan Norman, Rinus VeeKay trying to close that gap, 2nd, 3rd, 4th.
That battle for 2nd starting to heat up a little bit. McGinnis sees his mirrors full of Ryan Norman, the right-hander through 4. No one getting wide there, and then tiptoeing around the apex and crest of the hill in turn number 5. Robert McGinnis continues to hold off his teammate Ryan Norman.
Kyle, it's very evident that Robert McGinnis doesn't need to focus as much on catching Oliver Askew as much as it is to hold off Ryan Norman, who appears appears to have a pretty fast race car.
For sure. Oliver Askew seems to be in a field of his own. I've been watching his lap times. He's consistently been about, it seems like almost a lap ahead of everybody else in the way he brought his tires up to temp. So great driving on his part. At this point for Robert, he just has to keep Ryan Norman behind him because he is pressuring him quite a bit.
Oliver Askew is your leader as he streaks across the start and finish line to complete lap number 14. The advantage over Robert McGinnis is now up to 1.8 seconds. So every lap, it is seemingly growing by 2 or 3 tenths. That is how fast that young driver, our points leader from Florida, has been today. Robert McGinnis runs in second. He's got about a half a second lead over Ryan Norman. That only translates to just a couple car lengths on the racetrack. Norman runs in third. VK is in the 4th position. David Malukas runs 5th. Then Lucas Cole is 6th. Looks like Dalton Kellett might have just brought his car down to pit lane. Dave, first though, we got a great battle for second down to the S's.
Norman's going to try to go the long way around the outside of turn 4, and then he'll try the switchback. No, he stays right behind McGinnis. Didn't have quite the momentum. Rinus VK enjoying the view, though, as those two battle out for second. He wouldn't mind being a part of that here this afternoon.
Meanwhile, Rob Howden, you've seen a couple different cars come to pit lane here in the last couple moments.
Let's start with Dalton Kellett into the pit lane and back out. The right side of one of his seat belts actually came undone. They were able to get that lock back down for him and cinch back down. So just a loose and errant seat belt for Dalton Kellett. But I will confirm that Aaron Teal, their test session is continuing here. As we said, they're making adjustments to the rear of the car. I want to say from here, looks like ride height and potentially an adjustment to the actual dampers. They swapped dampers on the front of the car as well. They're doing ride height changes there too. So definitely a test session for the Velarde Auto Racing crew. Wholesale changes to the number 4 as they'll get him back out here and bang out a couple laps before it's all said and done.
Michael Young, second, third, fourth. Really tight there through the keyhole.
1, 2, 3, actually second, third, fourth. Ryan Norman with a great exit out of the keyhole. He'll have a run on the rear wing of his teammate Robert McGinnis. He'll make a move to the outside in turn 3.
He'll make a move. Let's see if it sticks. He does have the position, and now a half a car length. Meanwhile, McGinnis tries to charge back to the inside. Can't make it stick. Ryan Norman now running second here at Mid-Ohio. McGinnis is third, and right there to see what happens, Rinus VK second in points, 4th on the racetrack.
Kyle, I kind of held my breath there because it looked like McGinnis got out of the throttle and was going to let Norman go around the outside. Then all of a sudden he lurched forward, and I thought, uh-oh, they might go side by side. A great pass there by Ryan Norman.
Really great pass by Ryan, and he did a good job maintaining his position on the outside there, not allowing Robert to kind of force him wide. So really nice racing by both those drivers.
That's maybe the best place to pass on the racetrack, but how hard is that knowing that you've got the elevation change, you've got kind of that crest into the right-hand corner? It's got to be a tough spot to pull off a pass.
It is a challenging spot, but it's nice that there's camber going in, which gives you the ability to pass on the outside there and have some grip. Even though there's some rubber offline, there is more grip out there than you expect.
Ryan Norman will set sail and start to chase down our leader. How about that battle for third now, Michael Young?
Yeah, Rinus VK actually locked him up in the entrance of the keyhole. Ryan Norman is starting to close the gap on Oliver Askew, but Rinus VK with the run out of the keyhole. Now making a look to the outside of Robert McGinnis at turn number 3. VK on the charge.
VK is so patient watching those first 2, 3 and really work it and to see what advantage he might have as he makes his way down through turn 4. Now up over the hill, the crest to turn 5. Still right all over the rear gearbox of Robert McGinnis, but can't make the pass here as they make their way through that technical portion of the race course.
Wow, and he just about got that car side by side at the bottom of the hill in turn 6. Kyle, that's not a place we've seen a lot of drivers pull off passes. It doesn't work for Rinus VK, but I thought we were going to have contact there underneath the Honda bridge.
I held my breath for a second there, not going to lie. That is a very risky spot to pass. That's something you maybe try in the last lap of the race for the win. But at this point in the race, I don't think that's worth risking the car.
Yeah, so VK now has to regather it as he slips about 3 car lengths behind Robert McGinnis. VK is clearly faster, though, as he stalks him out of turn number 1. Call it about 2 car lengths, Michael. Rinus VK trying to run down that final step on the podium.
That's where he really closed that gap with he and Robert McGinnis last time by. I'll just make a quick shout out to Ryan Norman. He's starting to catch his teammate Oliver Askew. Let's see Robert McGinnis, his exit out of the keyhole here in turn number 2. Rinus VK about 3 to 4 car lengths. Dave, he doesn't quite have the run he had last time by, but still will be in touch with Robert McGinnis here the next lap or so.
Let's cool off those tires just a little bit and see what kind of run he can make. It's still a long race here at Mid-Ohio. It's about a 3 or 4 car length advantage for McGinnis over VK. Then further back, David Malukas, and way further back, Lucas Cole. Up under the Honda bridge, Oliver Askew continues to lead.
Kyle, when you have a moment like those two just had, Rinus VK being the driver on the attack, where it nearly spills over to an accident. Does it take a lap or so to kind of regather yourself, and do you have to remind yourself, all right, focus in and make sure you pick them off around the best parts of the racetrack to make passes?
For sure. I think there's a little bit of a wake-up call when you have a close act. I mean, that was really close to an accident. So I think he has to collect himself, get himself back in the mindset of finishing this race, because even though he's behind in the championship, there's still races after this weekend.
So it is Oliver Askew, your race leader, now with 9 laps to go. Ryan Norman is 1.5 seconds, 1.58, so he is right there on the cusp of running down and being able to use the push to pass on Oliver Askew. So it's Norman second, McGinnis is third. He's kind of extended that advantage over VK by about 5 or 6 car lengths. That's how they run in the front 4. And then David Malukas runs in 5th. Alex Wolf, let's get an update. Good to see Toby Sowery out of that race car after that big hit.
Yeah, he got out of the car, made a beeline for BN Racing, a trailer where he still is. But just to wrap things up, just moments ago, the machine was brought back to the paddock, and the right side end plate on the rear wing is bent, and the entire front wing is gone. So they've taken that nose cone off, and the work already underway on that number 2 car to get prepared for tomorrow's race.
Yeah, that's the thing. You got to get busy because we will go racing again tomorrow. Askew, Norman, McGinnis, VK, the top 4. David Malukas runs 5th. Lucas Cole is 6th. Dalton Kellett is 7th. Aaron Tealitz is 8th. And Toby Sowery out of the race in 9th. Back to pit lane. 8 laps to go. Rob Howden, you're with another one of our up-and-coming talented race car drivers.
Yeah, Nick, we had to take a quick break out of the interview with Kyle Kirkwood for the incident. We'll make sure we keep an eye on the cameras here as well. We may see a battle here for 3rd spot, but for now, let's talk about the driver who's going to start on pole position today in USF 2000 from Pabst Racing, Hunter McElroy. Hunter, pole position here is so important. You know about this. They've told you all about track position at Mid-Ohio. Give me your thoughts on getting that pole position and what that means for your strategy today.
Obviously, it's a massive advantage, I guess, to start the race. This track is, obviously, there's not many passing spots. There is, obviously, it's not impossible, but out of all tracks to be starting pole, this is probably one of the best places. So I'm really happy. You know, I knew this would be a strong weekend for us. Obviously, I'm a rookie, and all these tracks are new to me. And I knew these kind of temporary road courses would suit me. So, as you know, it's what I'm used to. So it's been a great weekend, and hopefully we can keep pushing on.
Pabst Racing crew has been very good. All your teammates even fast as well. You guys have a fantastic platform right now. Are you thinking victory right now? I know you're thinking victory, but what's the strategy? Is it just the opening corner to get out?
To be honest, it's just to do what I did at Road America and just pull away. You know, I think we were the quickest car, or I know we were the quickest car at Road America, and to be honest, I think we have even more pace than we did at Road America here. So it's just going to be about hitting my marks and just getting hopefully a little gap and then extending it from there. So I'm really fortunate to have all of my teammates in the top 5. So, you know, four of us filling the top 5 is pretty awesome and a testament to the team for the amazing baseline we have. So really happy and, yeah, looking forward to the race.
You're most definitely in the championship hunt still. Braden East does have a pretty good lead right now, but he didn't qualify quite as well. You're obviously on a roll here for USF 2000. Are you thinking championship? Are you in the mindset like Kyle Kirkwood is, if I just win races, the championship will take care of itself?
Pretty much exactly that. You know, I think the momentum's definitely kind of shifting towards us, especially the tracks in the kind of last half of the year. You know, Toronto was tough. We showed a lot of potential, and we were actually quite fast, but a few little mistakes just meant it wasn't as good as it could have been. We still didn't lose any points in the championship, so yeah, it's a great opportunity, really, and I'm just going to be putting my head down and keep doing what I'm doing, and I think I'll kind of let that handle itself.
Good luck today.
Thanks, really appreciate it.
I'll tell you, Nick, here he is, Hunter McElroy. He's actually born in America. He actually has New Zealand citizenship, and he's lived a lot of his life in Australia, but it's great to have him here in the Road to Indy. Hunter McElroy for Pabst Racing, one of the Pabst, the Mazda scholarship drivers, won the $200,000 scholarship shootout last year. He's got the Soul Red Mazda here in USF 2000. Definitely one of the drivers to watch here on this Road to Indy.
Yep, one of the drivers of the future to watch. One of the drivers to watch right now, Michael Young, is Renus VK, trying to go the long way around Robert McGinnis.
Nearly got to the outside of Robert McGinnis. McGinnis runs him wide, but Renus VK has a heck of a run out of the keyhole. He will stay to the outside of Robert McGinnis. They're side by side through 3.
And it looks like he might have the chance to complete this pass, and he does. Move Renus VK into that bottom podium spot, running 3rd here at Mid-Ohio. McGinnis has nothing on the comeback. He lays about, well, making a car link, now 2 car links back behind. Arenas VK, Askew, Norman, VK, McGinnis, Malukas, the top 5.
Kyle Kaiser, I think it took Renas VK a few more laps than he would have liked to get around Robert McGinnis, but no doubt that car is fast as we see him sliding his way down through Thunder Valley.
For sure. Having qualified off pole this morning, we knew his car had the pace, but like I was saying earlier, these cars seem to come in later into the race, and his car was set up for these final laps, and it's showing here.
6 laps to go here at Mid-Ohio as Renas VK jumps into the 3rd spot. Michael, moments ago, we kind of thought Ryan Norman was going to run down Oliver Askew. How's that advantage look right now as they exit turn 1?
Not as good as it did a couple of laps ago when we thought he was going to run him down. Oliver Askew, I just think, kind of playing cat and mouse with his teammate Ryan Norman. This young man has been so very impressive thus far this race weekend. He has really checked out. If that gap's not a 1.5 seconds, it's nearly 2 seconds by now. He's already down in front of Dave First.
Credit Ryan Norman, though. The folks from Aurora, Ohio, up cheering for this 3-cord bourbon machine. Decent gap further back. Meanwhile, I tell you what, Robert McGinnis isn't letting Renas VK get too far away. It's about a 2.5 car length advantage back downhill through the right-hander in turn 6 under the Honda Bridge.
Well, Kyle, this is a perfect example of the beauty of Indy Lights. Robert McGinnis now can be on the attack. He's still got 2 opportunities to use that push to pass, so he's got a chance to at least get back to Renas VK. He's going to have to do it now, though.
Exactly. I think Robert's been struggling these last 10 laps, I would say. His tires seem to have fallen off a little bit more than Renas. So Renas is working really hard right now to pull a big gap.
Across the start-finish line, Oliver Askew will see just 4 laps to go here at Mid-Ohio. And the eyes of Dave First and Michael Young are backed up by what we see on timing and scoring. Moments ago, Norman, after he completed that pass and moved into 3rd around Robert McGinnis, had cut the lead down to just about 1.5 seconds. And then all of a sudden, Kyle, it's back up to nearly 3 seconds. You would assume that Oliver Askew was probably taking it easy, taking care and nursing those Cooper tires.
Yeah, I don't think it was a coincidence that the second it got to 1.5 seconds.
It didn't take long, did it?
I pointed at the time he was scoring and I say, oh, look at that, the fastest lap of the race all of the sudden. So I found that pretty funny that Oliver was most definitely saving those tires in case another yellow were to come out at the end of this race. So just really smart driving on his part.
Oliver Askew just absolutely has him covered right now. It would have been fascinating if we wouldn't have got that mid-race caution, just how big of a lead he could have built on this field. But the advantage last time across the start-finish line is just under 3 seconds. Then it's Ryan Norman. Really good story for the driver just outside of the Cleveland, Ohio area. This is his home weekend. He's had some good races here. Captured his first series podium at Mid-Ohio in 2017. Backed it up last year with a podium finish, and it looks like he is well on his way to finishing 2nd here at Mid-Ohio as his lead over Renas VK is 2.3 seconds. VK sits in 3rd. That's a pretty nice charge considering he started in the 6th position and needed to do a little damage control in the championship. Does not appear right now in the final stages of this race that he's going to lose nearly as many points as we feared he might at the beginning of this event. Robert McGinnis has been kicked back to the 4th position. He's got a really big lead, nearly 9 seconds over, it's just about 4 seconds over David Malukas, who runs in 5th. Malukas has a monster lead over the 6th place running car of Lucas Cole. Then it's Dalton Kellett in 7th, who is 1 lap down. Aaron Tealitz is 9 laps down in the 8th position. And the only car out of the race is Toby Sowery, who had an incident at the midway point of this event. Happy to report that he is okay, and the repairs, as Alex Wolf talked about moments ago, have already begun for the BN Racing crew. As for Oliver Askew, he is on cruise control. 3.1 seconds as he snakes his way through the carousel and back across the start-finish line. He will see just 2 laps remaining here at Mid-Ohio. Michael Young this morning, he picked up his 6th pole position. Looks like he is well on his way with just 2 circuits remaining to his 5th victory of this season.
It's been an impressive run for Oliver Askew. Just 2 years ago, I remember seeing him for the very first time on the streets of St. Petersburg in the USF 2000 series. Dominated that year, jumped right to the Indy Pro 2000 series that next year, and already finds himself in the Indy Lights, just his 3rd year. Dave First, he has just dominated this afternoon here at Mid-Ohio.
It's almost a full straightaway length, the gap between him and 2nd place running Ryan Norman. Give a shout out to Renas VK too. I mean, he had to work diligently to work his way up through this field, and right now he has a shot at standing atop the podium here at Mid-Ohio during race number 1. Still no change on the top 5 here, Nick.
Yeah, for VK, his chance to best Oliver Askew the opportunity was always going to be tomorrow based on qualifying. VK will start on the outside of the front row, and that run down into turn 1, the start of the race tomorrow, is going to be a lot of fun to watch and listen to. As for Oliver Askew, though, he has been fairly unchallenged for much of this race. Across the start-finish line, he'll see the white flag. Again, Michael going for his 5th win of the season. Perhaps maybe the most impressive stat, though, only twice this year in 12 races has he been off the podium. It looks like he is headed there in the top step once again.
And he will be testing for Chip Ganassi Racing in Portland International Raceway. This kid is a rising star, has been so impressive in every rung, and just a great young man and a dominant driver. Dave first, he's out of the keyhole and through turn number 3 for the final time.
Had a couple weeks off since Toronto. And what did he do? Well, he didn't hit the beach or the pool. He spent a lot of time studying what Pato Award and Colton Herta have done here at Mid-Ohio. Those are two good mentors. Pato, of course, is driving Super Formula in Japan, and well, Colton Herta has the fastest car in the NTT IndyCar paddock here at Mid-Ohio. Oliver Askew, get used to the name. He's heading to victory lane here at Mid-Ohio.
Yep, Pato Award won both races here a year ago as well, so he had plenty of good things to study. And this morning, Oliver Askew broke the track record of Santiago Urrutia from 2016. It's been a good weekend. It's about to get a whole lot better. Out of the final corner, Oliver Askew sees the checkered flag. He will win here at Mid-Ohio in the Indy Lights Series presented by Cooper Tires. Ryan Norman comes across the start-finish line in 2nd in front of his hometown crowd. Renus VK will finish 3rd. Robert McGinnis is 4th. Then David Malukas rounds out the top 5 as Cole, Kellett, Tealitz, and Sowery will finish out the remaining 9 here at Mid-Ohio. A big salute, fist pump to the race fans up there on the hill by the keyhole for Oliver Askew. Kyle Kaiser, this was about as dominating a performance as we've seen in a long time.
He seemed to be in control from the very start. He was doing an awesome job on the restarts and the starts to get that gap so that he wasn't pressured too early. And it seemed like he could control exactly what the gap needed to be. And awesome driving on his part.
Yep, he gets a salute from his teammate Ryan Norman as well, as the fans have made their way out to Mid-Ohio. I'll tell you, I saw a couple of the camera shots of down in the keyhole in turn 2 and then up on the hills in the S's. The fans are here and they're ready. I mean, again, the IndyCar race isn't until tomorrow, but they are here enjoying a lot of great open wheel racing here at Mid-Ohio. Of course, NTT P1 knockout qualifying coming a little bit later today, as we'll find out who will sit on the pole for the Honda Indy 200. But on the top step of the podium for the Indy Lights Series presented by Cooper Tires at Mid-Ohio in race number 1, it will be Oliver Askew, and that points lead goes from 25 up to 35. So again, every point matters, every race matters. Kyle, and Oliver Askew, he's starting to look like a champion. You can kind of tell at the midway point of the season as the cream rises at the top.
Exactly. These are the races that make a big difference at this point. I thought Renus did a really good job kind of mitigating that point loss that he could have had. He drove smart today. Obviously, we saw some close calls getting through the field, but at the end of the day, he brought it home without damage, and he needs to keep doing that. But in the end, he needs to be beating Oliver if he has a shot at winning this championship.
Again, this is the 5th win of the season for Oliver Askew, and here's the racetracks that he's done it at, and this is what makes it maybe even more impressive. He swept the weekend at Circuit of the Americas, and he was nearly untouchable in one of those races. Had a great battle with Robert McGinnis in the second one, but that's where he scored his first 2 wins. Then he won the Freedom 100 on the big oval at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, scored a victory a week ago in Toronto on the bumpy street circuit, and then comes to Mid-Ohio. So you got Indy, you got Toronto, you got Mid-Ohio, you got COTA. I mean, that's the sign of a champion when you can be successful on every single type of racetrack that the Indy Lights goes to. The only thing we're missing is a short track, and that's where we're headed to next at Gateway, and you know Andretti's going to have some good cars there too.
It'll be very exciting to see his performance there, but like you were saying, the sign of the champion. He's consistent. He's only finished off the podium twice the whole year, and that's just good signs for somebody that'll make a good IndyCar driver, because you have to be consistent and able to drive on every type of circuit.
It's hard to put into words how hard that is. I mean, there are some really good drivers, competitive teams in this series, and to never be off the podium, I mean, I know some folks will look at it and say, well, it's a smaller field. Mathematically, it should be easier to get on the podium, but we've seen over the years, it's hard to not have a couple races of bad luck. And sure, that's happened to Oliver Askew, but 10 out of 12, it's hard to argue with the results.
For sure. The results speak for themselves, like you said, and this is a tight group of drivers. These drivers are no slouches. It may be a smaller field, but I know that any of these drivers could finish on the podium any race. So it just speaks more to his skill set and that he's ready to move up.
It's like Oliver Askew has pulled that index and vest Mazda into victory lane, popping that helmet off. We're going to hear from him momentarily as Andretti Autosport takes the top 2 steps on the podium. Robert McGinnis just missed off making a clean sweep for Andretti Autosport as Rinus VeeKay comes home in the 3rd spot, McGinnis 4th. Again, David Malukas finishes 5th, Lucas Cole 6th. And then Dalton Kellett in the 7th spot. Aaron Teal, it's 9 laps down in the 8th position. And then Toby Sauer, the only car that was unable to finish this event as he came home 21 laps down in the 9th position here at Mid-Ohio. We see Oliver Askew out of that race car. He's got that P1 Cooper Tires hat on. Doesn't look like he broke much of a sweat, as we're going to hear from our race winner here momentarily.
Yeah, it was, I mean, this is probably one of the tracks where if you're going to start pole, it's going to be here because it's very hard to pass in the races. So I was happy to be on pole today and got a clean start with my teammate Robert McGinnis on the outside. And yeah, just kept it clean and then eventually pulled away there at the end, saved my tires for the last couple laps, and it was a good day for us.